Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Tuesday, June 30th. This is your daily Buckeye Fix. I'm Tom Moore, and today I'm joined by Matt Connolly. He's the Clemson football beat writer for the State newspaper in Columbia, South Carolina. Clemson's been in the news quite a bit recently and on the forefront of most Buckeye fans' minds since about December 29th or so of last year. Wanted to have him on to provide a little bit of insight into what's going on with the Tigers right now. So, Matt, thank you for joining us today.
Sure, yeah. Thanks for having me.
So Clemson players are back working out like most of the rest of FBS right now, but things have been a little different there. Clemson has had 37 positive tests, which is the most of any program in the nation. There may be others with more, but many schools, including Ohio State, are not releasing the official numbers, so Clemson's is the highest right now. Matt, what has Clemson said about why that number is so high? Has there been anything they've shared with you guys?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, not all schools are releasing their numbers. So I think around 40 or 50 probably have at this point, and out of those, Clemson has the highest that's been released. And it really jumped up after they got on campus. When they got on campus, there were only two positive tests after the entire team was tested, other than the freshmen that hadn't arrived yet. So now we've gone from 2 to 37 in a couple of weeks, which is obviously a troubling jump. And it seems to be not necessarily what's happening at the facility, but what's happening outside of the facility. So, players going to restaurants and bars and parties and hanging out. These guys haven't seen each other in several months, and so they're all back on campus wanting to hang out, and they start hanging out. It starts getting infected, passed around some. The next thing you know, you go from 2 to 37. So I think in the workouts, it's they're socially distanced, they're wearing masks when they're in the facility and doing that kind of stuff. But I think it's really what's happening outside of being in the football facility as far as why the tests have gone up.
I've seen some people put forward the idea, both specifically to you and just in general, that this may actually be beneficial for Clemson, that, you're sort of getting it out of the way and, like chicken pox were when we were kids, just have a chicken pox party, get it now, don't have it later, have it at a convenient time, and then you're fine for the season. You had some interesting thoughts on why that probably wasn't necessarily a good idea. Can you share some of those?
Yeah, I just think that, first of all, you shouldn't be rooting for anybody to get sick, I don't think. Clemson has said there aren't any hospitalizations, but we don't know how bad these players are. We don't know how sick they are. Are they bedridden and can barely get out of bed? Or, half of them are asymptomatic, but that means half of them aren't. So we don't really know how sick they are. These are unpaid athletes who are on campus, trying to get ready for a football season. And one of the players, Amari Rogers, who's one of the best receivers and one of the best returning receivers for sure, a leader. He's a senior leader on the team. Said that we're on campus. Someone asked why are college athletes on campus right now, and he said because they need that money off of us. And so when you have that mindset from a player and one of the leaders on the team, is that we're only here because, in part at least, because they need money and schools are hurting for money. I don't think it's necessarily a good thing to also say, by the way, while you're here and we're going to make money off of you, go ahead and get sick so that we can watch you play football this fall. There's no proof that you can't get it again. I think people are hopeful that you can build immune systems and that kind of stuff and not get it again, but there's still no proof. Who knows, 2 or 3 months from now, people could be getting it again. And this is such a new the coronavirus is so new that we're still learning so much about it, and we don't know about the long-term impacts, if any, and how kind of it affects you from a long-term health standpoint either. So I think just saying, hey, everybody go ahead and get the coronavirus and we'll build up herd immunity, and that way we can have a football season probably isn't the best plan to have.
What impact has this had on the view down there of the likelihood of a season? Like you said, there are athletic departments that are going to have football in order to operate as athletic departments this year. So I'm sure there's still a strong push for it. Has there been anyone who's, this has given anyone down there any pause, like, hey, this is a lot that's happening all at once, and this is impacting a lot of people pretty quickly?
Yeah, I don't, and it's not just a Clemson thing, first of all, in South Carolina. South Carolina in general has had a huge spike in cases recently and continues to have its most cases. And a lot of that is people coming to the beach and traveling and that kind of stuff. But it's also an outbreak on Clemson's campus with the football players that are returning, obviously. And I think, as more and more people start returning to campus, and this continues to have more and more people around Clemson and that kind of stuff, because it's a really small community, I think cases are likely going to continues to increase. And so it's a hard situation because, they really need football. Clemson needs football just like every other program in the country needs football to kind of keep the athletic department going, keep the budget going. I think they're going to try to find a way to somehow play football. I think that they right now are fully intending on playing and having a season, but I think it's still kind of flexible. But if I had to guess, I think that they're going to try to find a way to play a season, and it may look a little different. Who knows? If maybe I know there's some talk around the country going to 10-game conference schedule or something like that. Who knows how exactly it comes together? But I think that they're just so dependent on it, and other programs around the country are so dependent on it that they'll find a way to play.
Well, if they do play, Clemson's going to have running back Travis Etienne back. He was a person that I think a lot of people expected to maybe turn pro. I mean, there's the general thought that if you're running back and you're going to be picked towards the top of the draft, go get that money because those NFL running back careers are not that long. He ended up coming back for another year. What was it about him, his family, that made him make that decision to come back?
Yeah, for one thing, he was a second round, late first, early second round grade. And so I think he really wanted to try to come in for his final season and prove that he's the top running back in the country and prove that he should be the top back off the board and be a top 15, pick, even though that's rare for a running back. It does happen. And so I think he's kind of hoping that he can be that guy to be a top 15, top 20 pick and make several more $1 million guaranteed money than he would if he was a late first, early second round pick. And then the other thing is just graduating, something he said he talked about with his mom a lot. It was very important for her that he graduate. And, a lot of times guys leave and plan on coming back and they either take a long time to do it or sometimes don't ever end up coming back and graduating. And so I think having his degree and kind of planning ahead for his life after football was important to him. And he likes being at Clemson. He likes being on campus. Has several really close friends on the team. I mean, I think he likes the community and the atmosphere in the area he is as well. He's a really down-to-earth, nice kid who, I think just really enjoys the college experience. So I think I know it was a weird decision for some and some around the country kind of questioned it, but I think all those things kind of led to him making the decision to come back.
One guy who won't be on the field this fall that was maybe even a much bigger surprise than Etienne, Justyn Ross, the star wide receiver. I think this kind of got lost in all the other stuff that's going on in the world right now, but
sure.
He had was it a neck injury, some sort of a neck condition? Can you explain what's going on with him and what that'll mean for his season?
Yeah, so it was like a neck, back, shoulder type issue, something in that area where, they didn't know about it until he started having stinger symptoms in practice. And, he ended up having to have surgery. He's had successful surgery and they feel good about his future playing football. They're hopeful that he'll be able to play again at some point, but it definitely won't be this year. And, they've already announced he'll be out for this upcoming season. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, I think, with everything going on around the world with the coronavirus and everything, it did kind of get overlooked, the fact that, this is a guy that was going to be a potential top 10, top 15 pick next year and maybe the best receiver in the country, or at least one of the best receivers in the country, along with Jamar Chase and a couple other guys. So I think this is a huge loss for Clemson. Travis Etienne, who we were just talking about, is now the leading returning receiver for Clemson, which just seems strange when you think of them and all the really good receivers they've had. And they have some talent. Joseph Ngata is a guy that was a very highly rated guy out of California. Frank Ladson from Florida, another highly rated guy. They'll both be sophomores this year. Amari Rodgers, who we spoke about a little bit earlier, a senior, he's a returning starter. He's a really good player, but they don't have that dominant kind of go-to guy that you're accustomed to having, and Justyn would have been that guy. I mean, when you look at what he did his freshman year against Notre Dame and Alabama in the playoff, had about 150 yards in both games and 3 total touchdowns. So his first 2 playoff games, he combined for about 300 yards and 3 touchdowns against really good defenses as a freshman. And so, he continued to build off that last year, had a really solid year last year. Now, not having him this year, obviously a huge loss for Clemson.
Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields are 2 quarterbacks who get compared a lot as guys who are 1-2 in the same recruiting class, and they've gone head-to-head in the playoff now. And
probably in the NFL draft.
Probably in the NFL draft in a year, exactly, yeah. And I think there might be something sort of instructive about Trevor Lawrence's second year at Clemson as far as what this year might look like for Justin Fields. I think everyone, the automatic assumption is, well, it's your second year in the system, you're going to be better. But that doesn't always necessarily manifest on the stat sheet. Just last year, Trevor Lawrence threw more interceptions early in the season. That might be something, that's something I've talked on a couple of recent episodes about. Like, that might be something that could happen with Justin Fields this year. Can you sort of share a little insight as to why that, as Trevor Lawrence had been in that system more, that suddenly turned into he's throwing more interceptions than last year, which you would think it would be the other way around.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think there are a lot of reasons. I mean, I think, first of all, there's so much pressure when you hear all off season going into a season that you're the top player in the country or you're one of the top few players in the country. I think it does start to build on you. You're the Heisman favorite, and then you start making, maybe you have a bad luck interception or a ball gets tipped and gets picked off. And now they start talking about, in Justin Fields' case, the talk's going to be, wow, he only threw, one interception, all last year. Oh, wow, he's already matched his total in week one. Or, if something happens like that, or week two, oh, he's already got, a couple bad luck interceptions, and now you got 2 interceptions, and then the narrative is, oh, he has more already than he had all of last year. And so I think it kind of compounds on you some, and you start feeling the pressure and thinking, man, what's wrong? What's going on? And that's something Trevor talked about last year. Is he felt the pressure a lot. A lot of kids kind of shy away from that and say, no, everything's fine. But I think that pressure does build. It gets hard. I think, teams watch more film. They learn more of your strengths, your weaknesses. Clemson and Ohio State's the same way. Teams are trying to build to beat, these top teams around the country. They're paying attention to what they're doing and really studying in the off season to try to look for flaws and kind of chinks in the armor. And so I think the same thing will happen with Ohio State and Justin Fields this year, is where he'll really get dissected and teams will try to find ways to confuse them and kind of give them different looks and that kind of stuff, maybe even more so than last year. So, I think, coming into the season as a Heisman favorite or one of the Heisman favorites, I think when you're going through that for the first time, and obviously they've had pressure their whole careers, coming up as top recruits and all that kind of stuff, but I think it does go to another level when you hear it all off season going into a year, just you're the guy, you're the best quarterback in the country or one of the best two, and it can kind of mess with you some, especially if you have some bad luck early or maybe make a couple mistakes early.
All right. Matt, will you let people know where they can find you on Twitter and where they can find your work online?
Sure. Yeah. thestate.com, www.thestate.com. We have lots of Clemson coverage there. And then on Twitter, at Matt at the State. MATTATTHESTATE. So it's confusing and rhyming and all that kind of stuff, but Matt at the State.
Well, I will give Matt a plug. He is a great follow on Twitter. A lot of very insightful content and commentary on a team that, let's be honest, Ohio State fans are probably going to have at least one eye on most of the year, because we may see you. We may see each other in a press box at a bowl game if they're allowed to have, if they have bowl games, if they have people in the press box. We may see each other again.
Yeah, I sure do hope so. We can have a reunion podcast.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Matt. For those of you who have not joined the Buckeye Scoop website yet, time is running out to be a member of our Founders Club. You have to just sign up to be a paid member of BuckeyeScoop.com by the 4th of July to be a part and get some special perks. You can also check out all of the great free content and other great content on BuckeyeScoop.com. We have more insight analysis and insider reports in our members section in addition to the free content. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure you find all of our shows on Apple Podcasts. Just search Buckeye Scoop, and you can find us there, or your favorite podcast app of choice. You can subscribe there, rate and review us right there. Thank you very much for listening. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.